Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I'm not the guy who snoops. I kick doors for a living literally. I'm a firefighter in Austin. The kind who keeps a bag by the door and a toothbrush in the rig. My wife, Mia, is a trauma nurse at St. David's. We've been married 9 years, together 11, the kind of timeline that knows each other's coffee orders and the exact relief of a forehead kiss for a 20-hour shift. We weren't perfect, but we were solid until the night I found the first breadcrumb. It wasn't lipstick on a collar or perfume that didn't belong. It was MIA's phone on, do not disturb, face down, in the bathroom sink while she brushed her teeth. She never does that. She listens to crime podcasts while getting ready, humming the theme songs. That night, silent, I glanced at the screen, and it woke just enough to flash a preview. Unknown. You can't text me when Hay's home. Then another, a minute later. Tomorrow 6:30, same place. When she caught me looking, she smiled like it was nothing, a no big deal curve I've always been weak for. Vendor for the hospital, she said, rinsing her mouth. Supply chain is chaos. Maybe that answer works for other people. For me, it fell through the floor. There's a sound a roof makes before it fails, a tiny groan, a shrug in the joists. That text was the groan. Over the next few weeks, little things grew teeth. MIA's schedule used to be posted on the fridge. Now there were handwritten calendar blocks marked in service and leadership, times that stretched late and bled over. She started wearing her hair in a different way on certain days, half up, like she did when we were dating, and she knew I liked the way it showed her neck. She bought a new jacket, black, fitted, professional, but sharp, and she wore it to meetings. She came home after midnight twice, saying a chopper landed late, and they had to process a whole trauma bay, but her scrubs were still folded in her backpack, sealed, unused. I started noticing smells. Not perfume, Mia doesn't wear much of that. A woodsy cologne, faint, sometimes so light I thought I imagined it. Sometimes swelling in the hall as she slid past me to the shower. She laughed more, but not with me. Under her breath, in the laundry room, behind the garage door, in the kitchen with the faucet running. It wasn't a laugh, I knew. I told myself it was just the season. In our line of work, season is both weather and the month when everyone breaks. But 2 weeks into this new season, her gym bag sat untouched by the door, dust gathering on the zipper. She told me she had yoga Mondays and Thursdays. Monday, I found a mat in the hall closet, under the blankets. Thursday, she forgot her water bottle, but didn't come back to get it. I worked 24/48 of a second. On one of my off days, I decided to stop guessing and start counting. I opened a folder on my laptop and named it Vest after the brand of thermal camera vest I was pricing. Not evidence. Not Mia. Vest. I put a note in it called Ledger and started to write. Wed 22. Phone on DND at 9:12 p.m. Showered again at 11:03 p.m. The 23. Yoga. Matting closet jacket on chair, cologne present. Friday 24. Leadership late texts at 12:18 a.m. Unknown, you'll ruin everything. The first unarguable proof arrived in the mail. No return address. Thin manila. Inside was a single glossy photo. Mia, in the black jacket, at the bar of a motel off I-35, I know too well from storm duty-tired travelers, folks who need no questions. She was leaning close to a man in a grey hoodie, his hand curved around the back of her neck. The timestamp could have been a slap, 20:47. That was the exact minute she'd texted me from the clean room, a selfie in peep, with the caption still at it. My brain went cold, not angry, cold, like the moment before you hit the fire, and it tries to hit back. I didn't blow up. I did what we do in a fire. Establish water, establish egress, get your head right. I began to trail her. The next Tuesday, she said she had an all-hands skills day until 8 p.m. I parked my truck 2 blocks off her hospital and watched the entrance, an energy drink sweating in the cup holder. At 7:06 p.m., Mia walked out alone, hair down, jacket over scrubs, that laugh under her breath. She headed not to the garage, but to the street and got into a silver Camry I didn't recognize. The Camry turned north toward 183. I followed. It pulled into a storage facility with blue roll-up doors. The code gate opened. The Camry slipped in. I stopped outside the fence, memorized the unit number when the headlights flashed across. B17. She was inside for 26 minutes. When she came out, she wasn't alone. A man in a hoodie walked with her to the car. He kept his distance, but his posture was intimate. Someone who had already asked the heavy questions. He didn't touch her. She didn't touch him. They talked with hands jammed into pockets, like they were practicing not touching. I took a photo. 2, actually. One of them in the wash of the security light. One of the back of the man as he turned. I got a partial plate from a black truck 3 rows over. The kind of detail you write down, because it feels like not writing it down would be dumb. When Mia got home at 10:12, she smelled like outside, and something else ozone, fear. She stood at the sink staring into nothing, while the water ran. Busy? I asked. She nodded. Pilot came in with a code on the bird. Ugly. I made a sound like sympathy. Then I folded the anonymous photo in half, slid it under a cookbook we never use, and stared at the cabinet until the wood grain blurred. That night, I slept on the couch, pretending I fell asleep watching the game. She came in around 1 a.m., tucked a blanket around me, like she does when we're us, and I stayed rigid so she'd think I was out. When I stood up at 4:30 before shift, my back felt older than my body. I pulled the photo out and stared at it under the stove light. The man's hand on her neck wasn't grabbing. It was protecting. Somehow that made me feel worse. On shift, I pulled a favor from a guy at APD who owes me for dragging him out of a structure fire when the ceiling dropped. I gave him the partial plates and the storage lot address and asked him what he could legally tell me. He told me the plates belonged to no one, as in either bad recording or someone who knows how to be a ghost, and that the storage lot had a high number of voluntary visits by agencies with 3 letters in their names. 3 letters. That's when my heart rate changed keys. I doubled down on the ledger. MIA's late nights multiplied. She was affectionate, and then she wasn't. A pendulum I couldn't time. Our home got quieter. The kind of quiet that hums like a transformer. The anonymous envelope came again. Another photo. Another angle. Mia walking into a side door of the same motel with the hoodie guy. The timestamp sang the same chorus as a lie Mia had texted me about inventory audits. Embedded in the white border of the photo, in tiny grey type, was a single word, Arcady. I googled Arcady with my thumb while a pot roast cooled on the counter. The first hits were tech podcasts, some defunct cryptocurrency, a defaced page about a Russian poet, then a forum thread with a lock icon, and a cached snippet. Arcady equals artisan AI swapper. DF lab, discreet. The thread wouldn't open on my phone. It looked like a door a sane person would not try to open. I stood at the sink, staring into nothing the way Mia did, and felt myself tilt toward what felt like the only option. Show her the evidence, hold the marriage up to the light, demand a yes or a no. But the more I stared at the photo, the more a thought I didn't want flickered in the corner. What if this wasn't about me? I closed the laptop, turned off the kitchen light, and decided to wait one more day. The next day I did something stupid that felt smart. I went to the motel. Not to the bar, too obvious. I parked across from the back staircase where the steel rusts into the wall like a bruise. I sat in the truck with a bull caplo and watched. 20 minutes. 30. A man in a hoodie came out and lit a cigarette. He didn't smoke. He wasn't the guy from the photo. He had a limp, left side. The hoodie was the same grey. That felt important or like a trick. He looked around like men look when they've done this 200 times. I slid lower in the seat. I didn't see Mia that day. I saw someone leave a manila envelope at the desk with the same tilt to their shoulders as Nia. It could have been her. It could have been a woman who buys the same jacket. I told myself was collecting facts and then recognized I was inventing a story to match a feeling. That night, Mia said she was doing charts late at the hospital. I ate alone and waited 30 minutes because that's what a man with patience does. Then I drove to the storage facility and parked under a billboard for a divorce attorney who smiles too hard. It was dark. I watched for the Camry. At 7:41, a silver Camry rolled up to the gate. Mia got out, keyed the code, slid in. I followed under the tree line, killed my lights, and coasted to the rail with B17. The door to B17 opened. The hoodie guy stood inside. He didn't let Mia in. He stepped out to meet her. They talked in the door's shadow. Bodies turned at angles people keep when they don't want a lens to know what their mouths are saying. I took out my phone and snapped 3 frames, my hand steadier than my chest. On the 3rd frame, the hoodie guy's face turned just a little, like someone said his name. The photo caught the edge of his jaw, the kind of jaw recognized later if you have nothing else to go on. He closed the door. Mia walked back to the Camry, but before she climbed in, she leaned against the hood and stared up at the sky like she was trying to swallow a star. I drove home and didn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I opened the vest folder and added the new photos. My laptop fan whirred like it was objecting to the wait. When I came down for coffee, Mia was already dressed. She poured 2 mugs without asking the way she always does when she's trying to hold on to normal. She looked tired in a way I don't see on her often, like the white of her eyes had reached its limit. Swing shift. I asked. Short-staffed, she said. The line I've used 100 times myself when I don't want to explain. You okay? She added, a half beat late. Yeah, I said. Just a weird cool-ass shift. She reached across the counter and squeezed my wrist. You smell like smoke. That's my job, I said. She smiled, and for 1 second, I wasn't a detective. I was a man whose wife made him coffee. An hour later, a new envelope landed in our mailbox. Not anonymous this time. A return address with the logo of a private courier company. One I knew from service calls to offices that care about discretion. Inside, no letter, no note, was a USB drive, black, unmarked, the kind drugstore clerks know better than to ask questions about. I plugged it into my work laptop because my gut was still sane enough to avoid the home machine. 2 files, 1 move, 1 PDF. The move was grainy motel footage of a woman who looked exactly like Mia entering a room with the hoodie guy, and the 3rd person I couldn't make out their face. The PDF was screenshots of text threads between a contact labeled M and a number with no name. The messages were ugly, not explicit in the porn way, explicit in the intimate way. Phrases have said to Mia, flipped like a mirror that makes you hate yourself. Can't text when Hay's home. Need to see you. Same place. Don't ruin this. I should stop there. Instead, I scrubbed through the video frame by frame. The woman Mia, or MIA's clone, moved in ways my body recognized. The hoodie guy's posture was familiar now, with that slight forward lean like his back hurts when he stands too long. At 1:27, the door opened again and a man stepped in. The lens flared. All I saw was a silhouette and the hint of a beard. He hugged the hoodie guy. He didn't hug Mia. I closed the laptop. My heart did the kind of gallop that makes you check your pulse and lie to yourself about nothing being wrong. Here is the part where I confess to the worst thing I've ever done in a kitchen that didn't involve a grease fire. I printed screenshots. I laid them under a dinner plate. I waited until Friday and told Mia I'd grill. I set the table on the back porch, put the screenshots under her plate like a trap, and in my head I rehearsed lines that sounded righteous. She came home late, jacket on, phone in hand. That laugh caught in her throat like it wasn't sure whether it was allowed out. She sat. We ate. I asked about her day. She told me about a kid who'd taken a handlebar to the spleen and lived to tell it. She smiled. I poured wine and had trouble holding the bottle steady when she reached for her plate to carry it inside. The screenshots slid out and the wind landed them in her lap. She didn't gasp. She didn't reach for explanations with both hands like most people do. She sat absolutely still. Then she lifted the top page, looked at it for a long time, and tilted her head the way she does when she's triaging a story from a patient who wants pain meds but needs something else. She looked at me. Where'd you get these? In the mail, I said, and in my head. She nodded once. Not like I got the answer right, but like the question was more telling than the answer. Okay, she said. Then I think we need to talk about Arcady. It's a funny thing when a word you've only seen online shows up in your mouth. It tastes like metal. What's Arcady? I said, lying with my tone if not my tongue. Mia slid the stack of screenshots back under the plate like she couldn't bear to see them face up anymore. The thing inside the thing, she said. And the reason you need to listen all the way to the end before you decide if you still want to be married to me. We didn't talk in the kitchen. We went for a drive because in our marriage, motion has always made the hard sentences less about who's winning. Mia directed me north toward a part of town where storage facilities and chain restaurants multiply. I took the frontage road and expected Betrayal to make a speech in the passenger seat. Instead, Mia told me a story I wasn't ready for. 6 months ago, she said, one of our nurses got a call from someone claiming to be her nephew, said he'd been jumped, was bleeding, didn't want to call the cops. She left the floor to answer. When she came back, she was pale. The nephew was an extortionist. He had photos that looked like her, in places she'd never been, doing things she'd never done. Threatened to send them to her church, her boss, her husband, if she didn't pay. Deepfakes, I said. The word so buzzy it felt fake by itself. Mia nodded, but not the garbage kind. The kind where you can count the freckles and they're yours. Arcady, I said, finally out loud. Yeah, she said. We think so. We went to hospital it. They shrugged and said call the cops. She did. The cops ran it up to a task force who said they'd heard the same name in other cases but couldn't confirm a human to go arrest. That's when the hoodie guy showed up. The one from the storage unit. Mia almost smiled. His name's Hale. Hayes Cybercrime. Or Federal. Or both. I can't keep track of the jackets. He asked if anyone else on staff had gotten calls or weird emails. I said, probably, because it's a hospital and most of our nurses have Instagram. He asked if I'd gotten anything, and I said no. Then he gave me a number and told me to call him if anything changed. What changed? Mia laughed in a way that wasn't funny. 2 weeks later, I got a text from an unknown number with a video of me walking into a motel. The timestamp said it was the same hour I was running a trauma code. I knew it was fake, and my stomach still climbed into my throat. You didn't tell me, I said, hearing the accusation in my voice even if I didn't emphasize it. I know, she said. I thought it would blow over. It didn't. It escalated. The messages started knowing your name, then my schedule, then your shift pattern, then they changed tone. They said if I didn't do what they asked, they'd send the video to you first. We passed the storage facility gate, and it looked exactly like itself, a place where people hide trophies and bankruptcy. What did they ask for? I said, nothing at first. That's the trick. Make you afraid with no price so fear is the currency. Then, when you'd pay anything to stop it, the ask seems reasonable. Meet me, talk to me, bring an envelope to a desk, leave a USB in a lobby. It's less about the money than it is about compliance. That's how you know it's not just some creep in a basement. It's an operation. I gripped the wheel and thought about the envelopes that had materialized in our mailbox like spores. When I met Hale at the storage unit, she continued, he told me 2 things. 1. Don't pay. 2. Don't tell you. Not yet, he said. Hayes a firefighter. He'll run at danger. We need him not to run. I would have objected, but she wasn't wrong. Running at danger is a job shaped into personality over time. The second phone. I asked. They gave it to me, she said, to keep strings separate, so if the hospital gets subpoenaed, my mom's pictures of our niece at the pool don't end up in Discovery. The text you saw you can't text me when Hayes' home was Hale. And the motel footage. I asked. Fake, she said. Part AI. Part some other poor woman. Part stolen footage from a hallway camera that sees 100 women a week in black jackets. Arcady, I said again, because I had to call the thing by name to believe in it. And then, she said, staring straight ahead like saying it required keeping both eyes open, the envelope arrived about you. About me. Anonymous. Photos of you at the firehouse hugging a woman in a hoodie turnout coat up. Mask off looked like you were kissing. You weren't. I knew you weren't, but I got the same punch the nurses got when they saw themselves doing what they hadn't. I pulled onto a side street, parked, and turned to her. Why not tell me then? Why stage the I couldn't say the words affair or cheating without tasting metal? Why make me think? Because this isn't just about nurses and bad men online, she said. There's a line in what you do that someone crossed, and if you went charging in before we understood who, you'd set fire to the wrong thing. Hale kept saying, we need to give you a smaller story so you don't blow up the big one. The big one, I repeated. Which is? Mia swallowed hard enough I could hear it over the car's idle. It's about you, she said. About the night on 2222. The blood left my face and my hands went useless for a half second. The night on FM 2222. Rain sideways. Me, 29. Coming off shift with 2 beers in my belly. Telling myself it was fine, because beer doesn't count as drunk in Texas. A cyclist appeared in my headlights, or I appeared in his. Does it matter? And I felt the thud in my bones more than I heard it. I braked hard and skidded to the shoulder. He was on the asphalt, moving, groaning, helmet cracked. I dialed 911, and in those 10 seconds of ring time, I made 5 decisions that I hate myself for. I didn't tell dispatch my name. I didn't wait for the cops. I left my protein bar by his hand, like an apology any child would see through. And I drove away, circling back to the station to work an extra hour so he'd have an alibi if anyone ever asked. I had told Mia half the truth later, after the guilt turned my throat to gravel. I told her he'd seen a cyclist down and called it in. I didn't say I hit him. She didn't ask enough follow-ups, because loving me used to be easier than poking holes in me. How do you? I started. He lived, she said. He had a broken femur, a concussion, no memory of the minutes surrounding the hit. He got very interested in cybercrime during rehab, apparently. Went into law enforcement, called himself Hale when he met me. I put my forehead to the steering wheel. Breathing felt like crawling through rebar. He came to the hospital first because it was where the Arcady cases showed up, she said. But when he realized the texts were orbiting us, he started asking about you. Not because he wanted to arrest you, because he wanted the truth on the record before someone uglier weaponized it. Someone uglier, I said. Like who? Mia stared at the windshield as if she could see the person through it. Your brother, she said. The car cabin shrank. Cal. She nodded. Hale thinks Cal owes money to people he has no business meeting, and the fastest way to shake money out of a family is to carve at the men who think they can't be carved. I laughed once, a sound that had no humor in it. He'd sell me for rent. He'd sell you for a story, she said. He fed Arcady your shifts. He fed them my schedule. He knew the night you hit the cyclist because you called him before you called me. He called a friend who cleans. That friend has a side hustle feeding a lab that likes making lies look like the truth. I had called Cal that night. I'd forgotten I did. He answered on the 3rd ring and told me to calm down, and told me to drive, and told me not to tell Mia, and told me he had a guy. He always has a guy. He did nothing but have guys. We're going to the storage unit, I said, turning the wheel like a man who finally wants to stand in the same room as the awful thing. We're not, Mia said, putting her hand on my arm in a way that can stop me from making a rookie move on a roof. Hale said he'd come to us. When? Now, she said. And then she pointed at the rearview mirror. A black truck with no front plate slid in behind us and parked a spots back. The hoodie guy got out. He was bearded, clean enough to be official, tired enough to be human. He walked to my window slow, hands visible, the way you approach a dog whose teeth you respect. Jordan, he said. I nodded. Hale, he said. And before you decide how much you hate me, I need to tell you 2 things. 1. I didn't send those motel photos. 2. The man who did is trying to make you burn your life down so he doesn't have to burn his. We sat on a bench outside a tire shop because the universe has a sense of humor. Hale kept his hands tucked under his thighs like a kid trying not to get in trouble. He looked me in the eye the way guilty men do and the way honest men do. It's a frustrating overlap. I got hit. he said, and didn't make me ask hit by what. I woke up in a hospital with a leg that wasn't mine anymore and a timeline I couldn't read. I asked for traffic cams and got a blank spot. I asked for witnesses and got a shrug. I told myself if I couldn't find the driver, I'd find something else hard enough to make not finding him livable. Arcady was the something else. They make women into someone else's idea and sell the wreckage by the ounce. I followed that current until it brought me to your wife. And then me, I said. And then your brother, he said, who is bleeding bad money into worse places and needed a lever. He gave Arcady your shifts, your wife's rotations, your routes to the gym you don't go to anymore. He tipped them to where to leave the envelopes. He used your hit and run to set a hook. He told himself he was making you pay for getting away with something. Really, he was making you pay his book. I thought about Cal at 16 stealing copper from construction sites and selling it to men who didn't ask for receipts. I thought about him at 23 promising a second chance to our mom and selling that too. I thought about my own best and worst nights and how often he was nearby when the worst ones bloomed. So what is this? I asked. A sting, a pity party, moral rehab, a chance, Hale said. And he said the word without drama. For you to tell the truth before Arcady tells a different one. For you to cut your brother loose before he cuts you open. For you to stop chasing your wife's jacket into rooms where she doesn't live. For me to put the right things on paper before the wrong things do. I looked at Mia. She was composed in the way nurses are when everything in their body is running. You should have told me, I said. I tried, she said, in all the wrong ways. I thought if I made you mad at me for something dumb, you'd stay out of something fatal. I kept a ledger on you, I said, hating the sentence even as I said it. I know, she said. I found it. I didn't read it. I closed a laptop. That was the nicest thing I could do that day. Hale slid a card across the bench. It had a number and not much else. You don't have to confess to me, he said. Confession is a church word, and I don't have a church. You can call the U.S. attorney yourself, or you can call a lawyer who likes their suits loud. You can also do nothing. People do that all the time. Arcady will leak the video. Your brother will leak your alibi. The internet will do what the internet does. You'll survive, but you'll be the wrong shape for a long time. What about you? I said. What do you want out of this besides me having a bad day? Hale looked at his hands and flexed them like checking the fit. I want a man who hit me to stop being a ghost in my head, he said. I want the thing I do to count as something besides a way not to think about a bike lane. I want you to not pick up every burning thing you see and call it duty. We were quiet for a long time in the way men are when we're trying not to cry where someone can see. He'll do it, I said finally. The words heavy and honest and a little terrifying. He'll call. Not because you showed up, but because I hit you. Because I drove away. Because I made my wife hold a story that wasn't hers. MIA's hand found mine in a way I didn't feel entitled to and still didn't let go of. What about Cal? I said. My brother's name is a curse and a car alarm. Hale's mouth set. Well, take care of Cal, he said. And by we, I mean the part of the machine that has consequences. But there's a part you can't outsource. You have to tell your mom before she learns it from a headline. You have to block his number and mean it. You have to stop thinking it's your job to drag him back to shore when he keeps walking into the ocean. I drove home with Mia, and we sat in the driveway a long time, because the moment right before you change your life feels like every edge hurts. Inside. She made coffee even though it was 8 p.m. I called a lawyer with cufflinks that looked like small weapons. The next morning, I called the number Hale gave me and made an appointment I didn't want for a room I deserved. I told them the truth, the worst parts, and the parts I made worse by hiding them. We talked about restitution and the difference between a crime and a mistake, and the way those words mean less when a person is on a bike and you're in a truck. Arcady tried what Arcady tries. A video of Mia that wasn't her hit 3 people she works with and 1 aunt we tolerate. Hale had already inoculated the right inboxes the hospital board, a reporter with a spine. The video died in the right kind of light. Cal showed up at my porch and played the only card he knows, pity. I closed the door, He called me a traitor through the wood. He called my wife worse. I called Hale and gave him the voicemail. By the time the paperwork landed, Cal's number came from a facility that doesn't allow rings. The thing you think will end your marriage sometimes is the thing that remakes it with different joints. Mia stopped wearing the black jacket except to make me laugh. She still carries her phone, but the sound is back on because the sound isn't a threat. I still run toward danger, but I ask more questions on the way. We took the evidence folder, I printed it, because some part of me still wants punishment and burned it in the fire pit. It felt on the nose. It felt right. Hale texted me a photo months later of a corner of a courtroom and the edge of a bike wheel. Closure isn't a thing that happens. It's a thing you do, he wrote. I sent him back a picture of the library we took our niece to and the new bike rack they installed out front. I know, I wrote. He replied with a thumbs up, because sometimes that's the only emoji worth anything. Here is the part you want me to say. We're okay. We are, mostly. We still circle certain nights like a dog before sleep. We still make mistakes, but they're typed in smaller fonts. I still smell phantom cologne sometimes and play the old tape in my head. Mia still laughs behind closed doors when she talks to a nurse who needs to laugh. Sometimes she adds me to the call and the laugh becomes something that lives in our house again. That's all we asked for when we were 25. That our house be where the laughter was true. If you're waiting for the dramatic kiss or the revenge plot or the moment where I toss a ring into a glass and walk out, you won't get it. The double bottom on our story wasn't love saving us from betrayal. It was truth saving us from a lie we were both willing to live with. The affair was fate. The betrayal was real. It just wasn't the one with a bed in it. I still keep a folder on my laptop. It's not called Ledger. It's called Map. In it, there's just one note. And it has 3 lines. Tell the truth sooner. Love the person, not the story. Don't feed the fire you're trying to put out. Some days, that's enough. The other days, I go outside, drag a hose across the grass, and remind myself what water is for. If you made it here, thanks for riding with a story where the affair was only the mask and the real betrayal hid in a place without a bed between family and fear. Between truth and the stories we tell to avoid it. If you're into confessions with quiet turns, hard choices, and second bottoms that hit like a gut check, subscribe to End Stories. New stories drop every single day, and there's already a deep stack waiting for you to watch and listen.